are listening to pause. We pause for a second or two. This is episode 59, Specific Skill Sketch. Oftentimes, when we are worried about our future and it feels scary, we have a hard time seeing where it will all end. We have a hard time seeing where we are going. It does not feel coherent, what is happening. Instead, it feels random. It feels lonely. It feels like it doesn't mean anything. And this feeling that we are having, we feel like it is ours and ours alone. It does not feel like we are sharing it with anyone. It feels like it's just us, lonely, just one, lonely. Today's episode is called Specific Skill Sketch. And if you look at the Polaroid, the image for today's episode, you will see this image of, it looks sort of like a Venn diagram. You see these two circles being sketched, and they are overlapping in the middle of the picture. And the description I just gave in the beginning of today's episode, when we worry about our future, when it feels scary and lonely, then it is like we are, let's say that we are in the left circle in today's Polaroid, the green circle there. And it feels like we are at the utmost leftern corner of that circle. And over there, we are lonesome. It's just us. We are not overlapping with anyone else. It's just us. And when we are there, how can we feel anything but lonely? We are lonely when we are there. So we are feeling something truthful. We are lonely when we are at that space. But the thing is, the people we live with, they feel just as lonely as we do. This is a universal feeling. Everyone has it. It's very common. So say that you live with someone, and that person might be represented with the right circle in the Polaroid for today, the black circle. And that person feels to be in the utmost right turn space of that circle. And that person feels just as lonely as you do. That person feels just as worrisome as you do, or just as worried as you do. And then it's a good time to speak about specific skill sketch. Because if you again look at the Polaroid for today, you see in this sort of Venn diagram, you see in the middle, you see the hand with the pen in the Polaroid has sort of shaded the area where the two circles overlap. And in that space, in that overlapping area, there we have our path forward. There we have a coherent feeling to life. Specific skill sketch is specific for our long-term situation. And that overlapping area where the two circles are the same, that area is our way forward. Okay, so now we have spoken a bit metaphorically, and we have spoken in symbols and images. And now we will move on to the more practical part of specific skill sketch. What is it that we are doing when we are learning specific skill sketch? So basically, it does not have to be that we sit down and do these Venn diagrams necessarily. But what it is that we are doing concretely is that we're doing a sketch. And furthermore, we are doing this sketch together with the people we intend to live with. So it's not a one-man show, it's a joint effort. So we take the initiative to sit down together with the people we live with. And we say, hey, I have this thing I want to try out, and I think it's really great. I would just like to sit down and sketch up some thoughts. Very casually, informal. And we don't have to, reach any grand conclusions or learn anything big necessarily. Let's just sit down for a while and sketch up some thoughts on some pieces of paper and do it together. And that is specific skill sketch. Often life becomes more worrisome than is necessary, more filled with anxiety than necessary, more confused than necessary, because we just don't take the time to sit down and look at the same big picture. So often we just go about our lives with the people we live with, and we just assume that we share the same big picture. We make tons of assumptions all the time. And we tell ourselves all these things that are not as truthful as we would wish that they are, or that we wish that they would be. So, little by little, session by session, if you want to call it that, we sit down with the people we live with, and we just practice at sort of sketching out our different perspectives on anything, really. So one concrete thing that I like doing with the people I live with is that nowadays there are a lot of quite bleak pieces of news, quite depressing or scary pieces of news, and they are quite regular, these scary news. And I could, read about this news and just assume what the other people in my family and friends, what they are thinking about these things, how they are reacting to these things. I could assume, but that is not very smart, because then there will be all these kinds of misunderstandings. Instead, I make the initiative, and you can as well, to I just ask my people to, hey, let's just sit down, sketch some things out, some thoughts. And then basically very informally, very not planned at all in how we do it, we just sort of write all these kinds of thoughts and reactions that we have to all these disturbing news that are going on right now. It is very powerful to sit down together and look at the same piece of paper and look at the same big picture. It is very powerful. It is very powerful to share the same overview of a complex and difficult situation. It is very powerful to get to put to paper, physically put to paper, what you think about something real in your life, in your shared life as a family or group of friends. It is very powerful. So then, when you do this, you can write down a couple of words about something big, something scary, something out of your control. And you can write a few words about it on a piece of paper. Or your family member does the same, writes a couple of words about something scary or overwhelming. And once you do this, once you sit there and you look at the same picture, the same big picture, the same context for your life. So you can look at this picture, these words, and then you look at each other. And in that moment, as you are sitting sort of over this piece of paper with pens in your hands, in that moment you are standing on the same side as this context. So you're sort of putting this context, putting this complex, difficult situation out there on a paper. And you and your family, you're sort of standing on the same side of the problem. Do you see how this works? It is very powerful. Lastly, I want to speak a little about one adjustment that I would recommend when doing specific skill sketch with your family or a group of friends. And that is to not try to sketch up too much too fast, but rather to try it out little by little. So, starting out, you can actually just take a small piece of paper, like a notepad or something, and just sketch up a couple of things. 2, 3, not more than that. Just to sort of accustom both yourself and your people of this sort of feeling, this sort of technique or skill. Because if you haven't done it before, and if your people has not done it before, it will feel quite... you'll not be used to it in the beginning. And as I said, it is very powerful to stand on the same side as a problem or a situation. And that feeling in itself can be quite strong. So, as you go about specific skill sketch, you want to do it for your long-term situation. You want to make it into something you can do long-term with your people. So don't do it too much, and don't do too much in one session. Kind of try it out. Don't try to, exhaust everything about you in one session. Take it little by little, do it informally. Try it out. Because what's most important is not to reach all the conclusions. That's not what's important. What's important is to get a real sensation, a real experience of standing on the same side as the rest of your family or group of friends. To stand on the same side of the problem to stand on the same side of the situation. That's what specific skill sketch is about. It is not about finding all the answers. You will never do that. It's about gathering your people and sort of help each other make clear how to find that overlapping area where all your circles sort of overlap and share the same direction, share the same goal. And you will get an intuitive feeling of this as you go. And if you try this little by little over a longer period of time. Like a sketch. If you've ever seen one of those extremely skilled portrait artists make a portrait of someone, if you've seen when they start doing the portrait, they just sketch a little here, a little there. Maybe they do an earlobe here, a little hair there, maybe something about the forehead and a little chin, maybe some eye and some shoulders. So they go from here to there, little by little. And they just trust the process and let the portrait sort of take shape intuitively. And that's what we're gonna do as we do specific skill sketch with our family and group of friends. That's it for today. Thank you.